Here on the Conscious Business Show, we aim to bring you a wide spectrum of issues around the conscious agenda. Consciousness and compassionate are often seen together, and I suggest that understanding what is a compassionate business should be in your library of learning. Well, what better way to do that than for me to introduce you to the author of The Art of Compassionate Business, Main Principles for the Human-Oriented Enterprise. Welcome, Dr. Bruno Roque Cignacco.
Thank you, Marco, for having invited me. You are very generous. Thank you very much.
Okay,
I have
Bruno.
researched. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
It's lovely to meet you. It is absolutely lovely to meet you. I wish we could do it face to face and we'd be out having a bottle of Italian wine. But what is your book about, and why did you feel compelled to write it?
Well, this was the process of around 3 years of research, and I was coronated by my new book. And this what got me to research on this topic is that many companies were focused only on profits. They were focusing only on the bottom line. And I asked myself, can there be a different way to approach business, a business approach that includes compassion, empathy, support, care, generosity, what we call compassionate business? And the answer is in this book that we will talk about this over this interview.
Okay. Now, do you think with, say, aspects such as remote working, that business leaders are starting to understand compassion in all its angles? After all, for many years, people have been seen as simply numbers.
Well, many companies consider employees as cogs in a machine, and this is the wrong approach. And now with this pandemic and this challenge that we have nowadays, companies are getting more flexible. They allow some employees to work from home. Not all of them, but some of them can work from home. They also allow to have flexible time to start working and also to finish working. But also we have to understand that social distancing doesn't mean emotional distancing. So in business, it's important to get emotional bonds with different stakeholders, with employees, with customers, with suppliers, with the community. And this is important. In some cases, technology get us a bit detached from one another, and we have to understand that business is about relationship. So if you do business without taking into account relationship, your business will go out of business very quickly, because all these key performance indicators such as profitability, productivity, efficiency are always the natural result of the interaction between a company and its stakeholders. And technology should be used in a wise way. So this means that we should connect to employees on a continuous basis, but also taking into account that in some cases we can have a phone call or support employees in different ways so that the employees can be aware that we are there for them. Employees tend to get very anxious and they tend to get the freeze, fight, flight mode, and we have to support them during this time with the help of technology, but also flexibility and also a compassionate approach.
I totally take that last bit there. There's a thing called Zoom Doom, isn't it, where you have to meet your line manager online and he tells you, oh, HR will be sitting in, and you know your job's going. Well, what do you mean when you say about your book? And by the way, everybody, you can see Bruno's book behind me, the front page pull of it. What do you say about your book challenging the reader to change the way they perform in business situations and become more focused on the human aspects of business activities? What do you mean?
I mean by love and business, the relationship between love and business. I know that many people will say, what love have to do with it? Like the song. But in practice, love, there is a lot of research on this. Love implies a humanistic connotation of love. It's not only love that you feel for your family, your friend, your partner, but it's a much wider connotation of love, which includes compassion, empathy, support, care, generosity, and also gratitude. I'll give you an example. When a company is behaving in a compassionate way with an employee, will be very grateful for the employee contribution and will write a thank you note, a hand sign, so that the employee can receive this note, this personalized note, and can feel that their work counts, matters. So it's important to help employees with their work, but also recognize and let them know that they count, they matter. But also compassionate approach implies not focusing so much on quantitative aspect of business like a profit, market share, sales, but also qualitative aspect of business, what cannot be counted, such as camaraderie, companionship, loyalty, commitment. These are a very important values that many companies dismiss because they're only focusing what can be measured. what can be counted. So, and this is very important to get a balance between qualitative, what cannot be measured, compassion, empathy, support, and what can be measured, profit, market share, sales.
Yeah, I totally take your point of embedding triple bottom line. Now, I also totally get the need to take out, to put the humanity or humaneness into human relations. But how should a company go about it?
Well, a very interesting way to be more humane is to be more generous. Many companies only focus on obtaining, getting, taking, getting more profit, getting much more market share, getting much more customer. But what about having a balance between getting, obtaining, and giving? And giving how? Well, you don't have necessarily as a company to give material things, but you can, for example, a better bonus for employees, but also giving recognition, giving training to employees, giving support in challenging times, giving a ear when they have some problems, giving them a voice, so allowing them to express their opinions. In some cases, allowing employees to feel recognized and part of the team, and making them feel that they are contributing to a higher purpose, to a much more meaningful mission. So giving and receiving should be in balance. And there is a law in social psychology that is called the law of reciprocity. When you give more, the other person feels indebted and tend to reciprocate, to act in a reciprocal way. And this applies to giving good things, for example, compliments, praise, and giving negative things, hard criticism, and so on. So companies should be aware that all businesses are interdependent. When companies understand that no company can thrive without suppliers, without employees, without customers, without the community, company will try to strengthen this relationship. And obviously the company will focus on the triple bottom line: profits, but also people and the planet.
Excellent. I try to encourage businesses to remember that if you're going to do praise to criticism, make sure it's 3 to 5 times of praise to 1 criticism. Yes. I especially understand that in your thinking, the competitors are too often perceived as a threat. Now, this seems to go counter to business leaders believing they're on a battlefield with competitors and it's kill or be killed. Do you think your compassionate stance may be regarded as showing weakness if adopted? By the way, I personally like your approach, but my experience of war rooms and battle boards by businesses shows the opposite.
Okay, this is a very interesting question. I don't like even the word competitor, because competitor implies that someone will win at the expense of others. This is used in sports. Sports use competitors as one beating another, but in practice it's also related to scarcity mindset. This means that there are not enough resources for everyone. Should someone will get the resources at the expense of others? I prefer to talk about other organizations. And when you focus on other organizations, not at rival companies, you have a much wider approach. This means that this organization can even become partners, but can even become models to emulate. So I see companies doing well, and I say to myself, okay, how can I improve this, taking into account these tips that are given by this company, this good insight that come from this company, but also improving my business in a better way. But also, we have to understand that some companies are bad examples. So when you consider some companies bad example not to follow, this means that you will see they're doing things unethically, or they're doing a bad way, they're using a bad way to do business, for example, cheating on customer or deceiving employees. Well, in this case, I will take these companies as example not to follow. But we have to understand, when you focus on companies as rival companies, they are threats, and you tend to adopt a freeze, fight, fly mode. This means the defensive mode. And you cannot consider even the possibility to develop partnership with them. And you tend to focus so much check the threats instead of developing your own aspect, for example, your capabilities, your strengths, your talents, your products, your innovation. So I would say that companies should always be considered as potential partners, models to emulate in some cases, model not to emulate in negative cases.
If you want to be the successful business of the future, I want to encourage you, everyone, to get your book, and just don't make sure it stays on the shelf. There's a link to it on the URL behind us. But Bruno, give us a tease into what the underlying principles or guidelines you lay out in it. How easy are they to implement?
They're very easy to implement. They're common sense, and there should be commonplace. I'll give you an example. In regards with customers, a company should act in a very simple way. they should under-promise and over-deliver. What do I mean with this? Very simple. Many companies boast about their product, they're very boastful, and they try to promise them what they cannot deliver. But in practice, the company should use the opposite approach. For example, being humble, a lot of humility, and in practice offering a product that has good quality, good price, and other attributes, but in practice surprising customer, exceeding their expectation. When you're interacting with customer, so supposing that you're selling a computer. Well, you sell this computer, and then when you are dealing with customer, you offer delivery free, or you offer a training course free. So this means that you are exceeding customer expectation, and this is what we call delight, customer delight. Many companies are only focused on meeting the basic customer expectation, and anyone can do this. But instead, when you focus on exceeding customer expectation, these customers become ambassadors and will recommend the products to other companies, and they will become free promoter that are obviously endorsing your products and positive review, positive word of mouth. And in the case of employees, another good example is employees. Well, employees cannot be motivated by force, cannot be motivated by bossing them around, by micromanaging them. On the contrary, you should delegate some tasks to these employees, giving them some autonomy, supporting them, but also making them feel part of the team that are contributing to the company's mission, and also allowing them to feel that they're recognized on a continuous basis by thank you notes, by event to celebrate some achievement, but also in some cases providing employees with positive feedback, not only focusing on what is negative, and also focusing on things that can be improved, and providing them with training, for example, on-the-job training or mentoring or coaching, so that these employees feel that they are developing their skills on a continuous basis.
I think we'll be contributing together to that, helping with the customer experience when this very informative video is available free. Bruno, final question. And also, as always, I end it with giving my guest 3 wishes. If I was to give you 3 wishes as to how a business leader should change his or her company to becoming a compassionate business, what would they be?
First tip, be more generous. As a leader, you are setting the example. Be more generous. Be more generous means that not only being relating to the different stakeholders on a continuous basis and on a personal level, but also try to be more generous with your words. Lots of praise when possible, and praise related not to employees, related to employees' quality, but to employees' achievements. So the contribution that they're making to your company, but also being more aware that employees don't look only for economic retribution or compensation. They look for other non-economic aspects like praise, recognition. They need to feel valued. They need to feel appreciated. Second tip will be understand that companies are always in a network of contacts, and by strengthening the relationship with the network of contacts, for example, different stakeholders like customers, suppliers, employee, community members, business will improve. So as a leader, I will focus less on key performance indicators such as profitability, productivity, efficiency. I know that sounds counterintuitive. I will focus more on developing a strong relationship with our main stakeholder. Strong relationship implies win-win agreements. I will check every agreement with different stakeholders to see if everyone is winning and no party should win at the expense of others. And third tip will be obviously taking into account that the business environment is only focusing on rational aspects. For example, meeting objectives or setting like a smart objective or budgeting, lots of rational aspects. But there are other aspects of business that are important. The human aspect, which include physical aspect, emotional aspect, spiritual aspect, and the human being cannot be compartmentalized in only rational aspect. We have to take into account the human being as a whole. This means that different human beings with different needs should be met. The most important rule in any relationship is that the needs of both parties should be met. As a leader, I should be making sure that every stakeholder have their needs met, and I should be only performing business activities and taking up business projects that are win-win-win for everyone involved.
Dr. Bruno Cignacco, author of The Compassionate Business, thanks for giving everybody a clear signpost as to how they can be the business of the future. I appreciate the interview.
Thank you very much, Malcolm. I feel very honored.